Nandinatha Sampradayas Kailasa Parampara. Benevolent men who wrote the Katha Upanishad thousands of years ago advised seekers to arise, awake, approach the great beings and know the truth. It is a universal imperative need to know the truth within existence, the reality beneath the appearance, the immortal which gives meaning to our mortality. The way to this truth, recurring in every age and culture, still exists today. It is a dynamic tradition, carrying the same force and power for contemporary pathfinders as it did for the seekers and disciples of the dim past. It is called the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal path, for it never dies. It is coexistent with man's inquiry after the real. The most powerful traditions all have a living master, a knower of what is, an awakened soul. He provides a potency, an ability to make the journey one of personal experience far greater than any philosophy, any dogma, any religious history or institution. One such venerable spiritual tradition is the Nandinatha Sampradayas Kailasa Parampara, the masters in Kailasa lineage. The first of these masters that history recalls was Maharishi Nandinatha, or Nandikeshwara, 2250 years ago, Sadguru to the great Tirumala, ca 200 BCE, and 7 other disciples, as stated in the Tirumantiram, Patanjali, Vyagrapada, Sanat Kumara, Sivayogamuni, Sanakar, Sanadanar and Sanantanar. Tirumala had 7 disciples: Malangam, Indiran, Soman, Brahman, Rudram, Kalanga and Kanjamaling, each of whom established one or more monasteries and propagated the Agamic law. In the line of Kalanga came the sages Rayamma, Malagadeva, Nadantar, Bhogadeva and Paramananda. The lineage continued down the centuries and is alive today, the first recently known Siddha being the Rishi from the Himalayas, so named because he descended from those holy mountains. In South India, he initiated Cadet Swami, 1804 to 1891, who in turn initiated Chelappa Swami, 1840 to 1915. Sage Chelappan passed the mantle of authority to Sage Yoga Swami, 1872 to 1964, who in 1949 initiated Subramania Swami as the current Sadguru, invested with the spiritual power and mantle of authority for the Kailasa Parampara, in Jaffna, Sri Lanka, on the full moon day in May 1949, when he was 22 years of age. Miraculous seers, men of God. The beings in this lineage are not conventional saints or typical yogis. Technically, they are called Seva Siddhas, which means followers of Shiva who have attained the highest knowledge and perfection. It is said that such men hold truth in the palm of their hand, that they can do anything that will turn iron into gold, heal the sick, raise the dead, see into the future, change lives and talk with the gods. Many are the stories told by the still living disciples of this Sadguru lineage, those who saw the miracles firsthand through tears of wonderment and awe. Such powers sometimes became an obstacle when devotees came to these siddhas for the lesser magic rather than for God consciousness. So the masters hid themselves beneath unassuming white robes and stern ways. It helped. But these were luminous beings, engulfed in the clear white light, Sachidananda, day and night. Who can hide such radiance for long? People still came. The most ardent drew near, and the teachings were passed from one to the next over the centuries. Not in classes or seminars. In the old way, by word of mouth, by the preceptors testing the disciple, preparing the disciple, guiding the disciple in daily context and in dreams. Such men can shake the seeker's mind loose from its shackles, arouse awareness from the slumber of so many births and turn questions like, "Who am I? into proclamations of I am that. This the Gurus of the Kailasa Parampara did. Here now is a glimpse of 5 of these great souls and the God-centered non-dualism they taught. Mr. Krishi from the Himalayas. One afternoon sometime in the mid-1800s, a white-haired man happened into a tea shop near Bangalore in central South India. He was a stranger, probably from the Himalayan crown of India. He sat at a wooden table and took his tea. When the time came for the shop to close, the owner found the man had entered a state of contemplation so complete that he could not be aroused. Besides, it is considered improper to disturb a meditator. So he was left alone. Opening the shop early the next day, the shopkeeper discovered the yogi seated in perfect stillness, filling the room with a palpable sanctity. He did not move from that spot for 7 years, nor did he speak. The shop closed. Villagers turned it into a shrine frequented by the crowds who wanted darsana or sight of this remarkable being. Many came with problems. The kind people everywhere have a new job, grandmother's health, daughter's marriage. To their amazement, answers always came. Sometimes in dreams. Sometimes a piece of paper would materialize in the air above the saint and float gently to the ground. On it would be written exactly what they needed. One day, as suddenly as he had come, the rishi emerged from his divine state, got up and left the shop, never to return. He was the first modern-day Sadguru in this lineage and is known as The Rishi from the Himalayas. Let us have concord with our own people and concord with people who are strangers to us. Aswins, create between us and the strangers a unity of hearts. Atharva Veda. Cadet Swami Siddha from Bangalore. A few years later, farther south, a High Court judge sat at the end of a trial, faced with the duty to pass a sentence of death on a convicted murderer. The man was guilty, but the judge refused to fatally condemn a fellow human being. Instead, he left the bench, quit the law and renounced the world. He became a wandering monk. In time he met the rishi and was initiated into the inner teachings. Eventually he settled in Sri Lanka's port city of Jaffna. It was around 1860. He had no home, no asrama or yoga school. He could be found walking in the marketplace, speaking of man's oneness with God Siva and taking his meals with common folks. The people called him Cadet Swami, The Marketplace Swami. One day Cadet Swami was invited for lunch at the home of a devout but poor family. With little food in the house and not wanting to offend a great soul, the wife did the unthinkable. She sold her cherished gold wedding necklace to buy provisions. When the meal was finished, the Swami asked her to bring a piece of iron. A rusty old rod was found. Cadet Swami took it aside, spat on it and handed it back. It had turned to gold. The family became wealthy coconut oil merchants, though it is said they never sold the golden rod. The austere sage Chellappa Swami. The next Sadguru in this tradition was called Chellappa Swami, 1840 to 1915. Chellappan means wealthy father. Except in a spiritual sense, he was anything but rich. In fact, most thought him a vagrant and mad in the bargain. He wore disheveled clothing and preferred to be alone. At age 19, Chellappan was initiated by Cadet Swami. Thereafter he camped on the steps of Jaffna's now famous Nellore temple, that is when he was not walking the country roads, which he did frequently and energetically. Chellappa Swami spoke of God only in the first person, oblivious of duality, never admitting that there was another. He would puzzle passers-by by asking questions like, "Did you know that I am the King of Kings? Did anyone tell you that all the money in all the banks in the world is mine? Chelappa Swami was strict with himself, especially about food. He cooked his own meals, simple affairs of boiled rice and dal. His favorite curry was eggplant, for which he would sometimes walk 10 miles to the market to get fresh and 10 miles back. Never would he allow base desire to well up. If it did, if his mouth would so much as water at the smell of a hard-earned curry, he would chide himself, "So, you want this tasty food that much, do you?" Laughing aloud, he would pick up the clay cooking pots and break them on the ground. Then he would meditate on greater things as the crows loudly shared the scattered food. Yogaswami, the master of Sri Lanka. One morning a pilgrim was walking by the temple where Chelappa Swami lived. Suddenly, the sage laughed, calling out, "Just who do you think you are?" It was a seemingly innocuous query, but somehow it went deep into the heart, then deeper and deeper. Later the 35-year-old man left all worldly life and joined Chelappan as his disciple. This was Sage Yogaswami, 1872 to 1964, who wrote many verses recounting that meeting. "I saw my Guru at Nellore temple. Hey, who are you?" he challenged me. I saw darkness all surrounding and could not comprehend his meaning. As I stood perplexed, he looked at me with kindness, and the Maya that was tormenting me left and disappeared. He pointed above my head, and I lost all consciousness of body and stood there in amazement. He then spoke of the essence of Vedanta, that my fear might vanish. "It is as it is. Who knows? Grasp well the meaning of these words," said he. Everything disappeared, and by the grace of my Guru, who has no one to compare with him, I remained still, with no one to compare with me. A short sketch about Subramunia Swami. 1947, a 20-year-old American sailed from San Francisco to Bombay in search of his Guru. His cabin on the ship was directly over the engine room. It was his habit to meditate long hours each day alone in his room. One morning his contemplation was particularly deep, and as he returned to normal consciousness, the mechanical roar of the engines became annoying, then grating, then unbearable. In his mind he spontaneously commanded the noise to stop. The engines immediately halted, and the ship drifted quietly for 2 days before the voyage was resumed. Arriving in India, the youth traveled south by train. Crossing the straits to Sri Lanka, he found himself among Buddhist and Hindu mystics. His urge to realize God fully grew irresistibly intense. Entering the dense jungles southeast of Colombo, he settled in the famed caves of Jelani, vowing to fast and meditate until he attained the ultimate illumination. An Islamic mystic from a nearby mosque observed the young man disciplining himself and growing thinner as he meditated longer and longer. One day the Muslim was amazed to see a giant snake slither across the lap of the yogi who had lost body consciousness. Finally, the youth broke through the various wheels of consciousness, or chakras, into full enlightenment, beyond time, beyond form, beyond space. Months later, the youth was taken to Sage Yogaswami's humble hut in the north. The 77-year-old Yogaswami named him Subramunia, silent teacher of light, and initiated him into the famed mantra Namah Shivaya. Later, on the full moon day in May 1949, his Sadguru initiated Subramunia into the holy orders of sannyasa, and with a forceful slap on the back commanded him to carry the ancient Natha teachings back to the West. The event was acclaimed a coronation by all who witnessed. Yogaswami left his earthly body, attaining Mahasamadhi in Sri Lanka, on March 24, 1964.